Some time ago, I did a first impressions video for Kritika Online after En Masse invited me to a press event for the game. Kritika is now in open beta, so it's time I did a deep dive to see how the game holds up. I'm Colton from MMOHuts.com, and here's our first look at Kritika Online. For those who don't know, Kritika Online is an arcade-style beat-em-up MMORPG. It focuses its gameplay around shorter stages with big boss fights and massive combos. As in games like Devil May Cry, the game awards grades at the end of each stage based on your skill with the combo system and how often you took damage or died. Players receive a bonus piece of loot based on their grade. From there, you head back to the hub world, turn in quests and grab new ones, and then head back out into the danger zone. The NPC interactions amount to very little outside of acquiring quests. They only serve to add a little bit of flavor text and a whole lot of fan service to the spaces between punching things. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Games in the past have done well with a whole lot less between the stages. The customization is a little lacking as well. Kritika only lets you pick from a handful of faces and hairstyles for character creation. You can change the colors of your clothes, but that's it. The only way to change your looks is to buy outfits, but more on that later. The real fun of this game comes from grabbing your favorite character, teaming with your friends, and trying to get S rank or better on stages on insane difficulty. It's a challenge and it feels good to get right. The longer I went in a boss fight without taking damage, the better the experience began to feel. The stages themselves are short, but the boss fights serve to flesh out the average runtime. This gives Kritika more of a drop in and drop out feeling. It's a game that you can pick up, play for a bit, and then come back to it later. You can play marathon sessions too, but the rest point system changes how those sessions work. Each character you create in Kritika has a rest meter. When your meter is at its highest, you get a 1000% bonus to XP and item drops. On the second tier, this lowers to 500%. On the lowest tier, you get only the base amounts. Rest points drop every time you enter a stage. There are a few stages in the game that don't use rest points, but those stages also don't get bonuses. Rest points recover when you're logged out of that character. Rather than forcing you to stop playing the game after a certain period, this instead encourages you to make alternate characters of different classes. Once one character's rest points drop to the lowest tier, you can switch to another and let them recover. This allows you to try all the different characters and subclasses the game offers. Kritika has 4 base characters you can choose to start with. Each has their own playstyle. I covered warriors exclusively in the first impressions video, so I'm going to focus on the other 3. Rogues wield 2 daggers and have a lot of dashing moves. As a base class, they live and die based on their mobility. Their kit includes a ton of knockups and leaping follow-up attacks. Of the 4, the rogue was one of my 2 favorites. The rogues are a mana-hungry class though. If you're playing one, make sure you take advantage of the MP barrels scattered throughout stages. You'll also want to make sure you stock up on potions often. They can be huge lifesavers. The gun mage is my least favorite class. They use a lot of ranged attacks and big area of effect spells. Their moves are cool from a visual standpoint, and their damage output isn't bad, but the flow of their combos stalls out from having to aim AoE spells and leave them feeling disjointed. The gun mage also has some of the longest cooldowns of the 4 base classes. This makes finding bread and butter combos for them less like a fighting game and more like playing whack-a-mole with the hotbar. In short, I didn't have as much fun playing the gun mage as I did any of the other characters. The Reaper is my second favorite of all the classes. She uses a massive scythe to sweep up enemies in a wide arc. A lot of her kit uses moves that pull enemies into a single area. This allows her to fight a ton of enemies at once, but it also synergizes well with the gun mage, as it makes it easier for him to hit everyone with AoE attacks. She was also the most fragile of the characters I played. This could be by design, but it also could be my own greed. Your mileage may vary. Still, her cooldowns, like her shirt, are practically non-existent, so it's easy to get overzealous with attacks. Her damage output is also insane. She genuinely felt different from the other characters and was a blast to play. As you probably guessed, Kritika has an in-game cash shop. The monetization in this game is where things start to get hairy. There are harmless things like pets and cosmetic outfits for your characters. You can also buy XP boosts to help you progress faster. These by themselves aren't so bad. They are expensive, with each pet or cosmetic set costing between $10 and $20. When the game introduces cred is when it goes south. Cred is a currency that you can only get in 2 ways: real-world money or selling things on the auction house to other players. things get tricky from here on. The game has no way to trade items between players. If you want to move stuff around, you have to use the auction house. This means that, for one, you can buy actual gear with stats that affect gameplay by spending real money. Listing items cost 10,000 gold and 20% of the item's price in cred. There are items that go for 10,000 cred or more. This means that to list those items to sell, you'd have to spend 10 real-world dollars. This creates an economy where almost every interaction between players involving items gets taxed in real-world currency. I don't take issues with developers wanting to make money for the games they create. What makes this problematic is that Kritika is a free-to-play game. To promote it like that and then tax every item-based interaction players make with real-world currency is ridiculous. The game also offers an elite status for real-world cash. 30 days of elite status costs $20. For that $20, you'll get an extra 20% XP boost from killing monsters, an extra item every time you beat a stage, and daily bonuses. These daily bonuses include 30 additional rest points, 5 resurrection stones, a 3-hour potion of prosperity, and 30 cred. There are a few other smaller things included, but those are the important ones. Factoring in currency you gain back from these benefits, your cost is around 1100 cred for a 30-day period. This is a small margin of benefit given the 2000 cred entry fee. Still, the rest bonuses and XP benefits make it worthwhile if you're a diehard fan of the game. Overall, Kritika Online is a fun beat-em-up MMORPG with a fair amount of replay value. Sadly, the game suffers from plenty of paywalls and a potentially predatory cash economy. I enjoyed the game in bursts without spending any money, but progress seemed to slow the further I got into the game. Without full rest points or XP boosts, expect to be playing the same stages a few times through. Kritika is fun, but you can find similar experiences with arguably fewer problems with microtransactions in games like Dragon's Nest or Dungeon Fighter Online. Well, that's all for today. Make sure you let me know what you think down in the comments below, make sure you subscribe, and keep it locked on MMOHuts.com for all the latest gaming news and reviews.